All right. Health or High Water. Welcome. Take two. Thank you guys for joining us. Brett here with a bunch of guests. Trip.
Hello.
Bethany from Pelvic Floor.
Hi.
And Lance, of course, joining us. If you haven't heard Lance's last podcast, he was here a month ago, and we were discussing some childhood athletics, football. We got into some fantastic stuff. We have an interesting conversation for you today regarding specific training regimens, some of the Denver public schools in regards to childhood athletics, where it's heading, and then also diving into some of the football stuff, which I know, Trip, you're super passionate about.
I am so excited to talk about football.
Yeah, so he was hyping this episode up. I could tell he couldn't sleep last night. Every time he talks about you, Lance. First of all, how's your day going?
It's going great. It's wonderful.
He always brings a smile to his face when he talks football, and I know you share that passion, being the head coach of Littleton football.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, we try to do things a little bit differently. I've been coaching for close to 30 years, 26 scholastically, maybe 27 going on now. Mm-hmm. But, I'm a father of three sons, and I grew up here in Denver. I'm one of those rare natives of the Denver metro area. And, I want to talk, and I want the world to hear a little bit about what I call transformational football. Transformational football isn't something that I invented, but this is kind of like my interpretation of it. And think about transforming lives utilizing the game versus being transactional, which is, what have you done for me lately? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And football, I think that's going to be where we're going to take a lot of this. Football is a sport that's under attack, right, guys?
100%. I mean, that's our first episode. If you guys go back and listen, I mean, it's just about us talking about all the challenges that football has coming to it, the lack of participation, the lack of, tons of different stuff, right?
Yeah. I was just talking with Brett a little bit earlier about the fact that tonight will be our first practice for the Denver Broncos Futures program, and it's an 8th grade feeder program that was built 15 years ago just to save the Denver public school system's football programs because they were all under attack. They couldn't get enough people to play, and 15 years later, they're all doing very well, and it kind of saved the sport there. So.
What is that? Just multifactorial? Is that, I know, like the safety is a big thing. From my perspective, I definitely see that, with the big hits we used to see in the 90s and the glorification of that. Now there's a lot of science coming out about, hey, we have to protect our players, especially our young guys. Is it just that, or are there other factors that kind of play into, people getting away in participation?
I think a lot of it has to do with safety. A lot of it, I think especially moms have a tough time. You're talking about their most prized possessions as their children,
right.
And they're like, well, I got to save my child's head. But the reality is, especially from the younger levels, you don't see that many big time hits like that. As a matter of fact, it's hard to teach. Some kids have it, some don't. The ones that come to football actually are more in tune with their bodies to go give everything all out and do that at that type of a manner. But they also know how to take the hits too. And it's it's a mindset. I call it the alpha. At one time in life, I think we all kind of celebrated the alpha, and now the alpha is under attack, I would say.
Yeah, it is. It is.
We talk about this a lot.
Yeah, it is, for sure.
Yeah, so, what we try to do, though, is, I kind of miss the days where the game was a little bit more physical. I think some of the rules that they're changing are more of a knee-jerk reaction, because the reality is the kids that are drawn to the game of football, they need football. They need that outlet. What they have inside of them, they need to let go, and they need to do it in a structured way so that they actually can get that out of them. You're talking about kids that maybe can't play volleyball at the family picnic because they'll spike it down grandma's throat. But, you're also talking about the kids that if it's channeled right, they'll probably be the ones that jump on a bomb and save a village, I mean, it's that why I believe that our transformational football program, we're using what their best parts of them and trying to reiterate the fact that there's things that you can do to fit, and you're not crazy. You might be a little bit more aggressive than those around you, and maybe society isn't, and even especially the school systems. I mean, there's no tolerance for any kind of physicality, that we can give them a place where they can go feel like they belong.
It must be so good for them just to know that they have that environment with this, that they can look forward to it. They feel, respected and valued, and
absolutely,
I think that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that every high school football program is similar in the fact that we give this place for kids to play. When I grew up, I went to school in a time where you had a morning recess, you had a lunch that included a long recess, and then you had a late day recess, and then in between that you actually had a PE class. And so what they realized is that some of these young boys can't sit on a piece of carpet all day and be told to be good, and they're going to keep their hands off each other, and they're going to do all these kinds of things. So we now, like you said, safety is a big issue, but part of it is that we've changed old school mentality of saying that, young guys need to move around. I mean, when I was raising my 3 sons, if I needed to talk with them and I needed to get something back from them other than grunts,
Good.
I would start kicking the ball with them, or I'd start playing catch and throwing the catch, and all of a sudden, magically with a lacrosse stick or what have you, they'd start telling you what was going on in their lives or during the day. And that doesn't happen by sitting there at the desk all day. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, so that's the philosophy. I just want to give a quick background too. I know you guys talked about this last podcast, but you started coaching what in 87? You've been at this 30 years, so 87. There was I don't know if he was a mentor to you at that time, a gentleman who ended up becoming the mayor of the town.
Yeah, Randy Penn.
Randy Penn
of Inglewood, Colorado.
Okay.
Here, he was a head coach at Inglewood High School. He gave me my first chance to coach at the high school level in 1987.
Okay, and to become a mayor after becoming he was the administrator and then a coach and then a mayor. You have to have been wildly successful.
Correct.
At your job. I'm assuming you learned. You've taken learned a lot from him.
Oh yeah, not just him, but everybody. I think everybody in the athletic community, and especially in the football community, the best coaches stole half of what they know.
I'm always watching other coaches.
And what you do is that's your ultimate ode of thanks. Amen. Is that you actually copy what they do, or you learn something well from them that you wanted to take and teach down the road for the rest of your life. So from Randy, I learned a lot. And actually, our first 2 years there, from 87 to 89, never won a varsity game. And what I had to learn at that time is what was most important about sport. And it wasn't winning and losing, because we were losing every single game. But, I remember one time, I had... a kid come up to me on a Friday afternoon right before the game and say, "Coach, I can't play tonight." And I'm like, "What? Look at you. You look perfect. I mean, what's going on?" He's like, "Come here. Can we talk? Can we go over here in the side room?" And he basically told me I gotta babysit my brothers because my mom's got a date tonight. And I'm like, "Well, give me your telephone number. Let me call her. I'll talk to her." And he's like, "Don't do it, Coach." And I'm like, "No, I need to. I'm going to set this thing straight. I know better." I called her, and oh my Lord, did I catch it. And so what I had to learn there real fast was, okay, how do you think on your feet? You're getting reamed to do it. What the heck is going on? And so I basically was able to think outside of the box, and I said, wait a minute, what if one of them holds my headphones and the other one, it helps administrate water? And she sat and she stopped reaming me.
Wow.
And she goes, "Is that every week?"
Whoa.
And I'm like, "Yeah, it could be."
You're like,
and so I got a starting guard. my starting right guard got to play for the rest of the season. So
that's awesome. Football is one of the most aggressive sports, right, Tripp? I mean, you almost every position you have and boys, especially growing up in high school, have a lot of aggression, and they have to get it out, right?
Oh, 100%. I just taking this for like a health and wellness standpoint, you have hormones going on in puberty.
Mm-hmm.
For a lot of us, that was it is a transformative time during high school. How to let the energy out the right way. I mean, we've probably all seen here someone in our high school class that didn't let the energy out the right way, and then next thing you know, they're down the wrong path.
Mm-hmm.
And I love what Lance is doing here with that, is because it's taking that energy that would otherwise be put into negative places, like hanging out with the wrong people, not doing their homework or whatnot. But football holds people to a standard, and it lets people let their aggression out the right way. Same thing as like martial arts, right? In my opinion, the right way to let physicality out, learn discipline, learn community, learn what teamwork is about. So I think it's really important, if you don't choose football and you are an aggressive person, to choose something that's along those lines. So, you turn out to be a good man,
Yeah, so is football the game that raises, and can it be the game that raises successful, strong young men from high school through college? Can it be the game? Because I think there are some people that question that.
Yeah, well, for me it was, and I can't make this huge proclamation that says it's the right game for everybody, but I can tell you this: those that are drawn to the game of football are usually the most aggressive young men. Now there's female football too, and they hit pretty hard too. And I guess what I'm saying is this is a great platform to channel whatever that inner aggressiveness is. And one of the things that I think is so important about football is not just about them. I mean, they get to become part of a team. It's the ultimate team game in that of 11 people on the field, 10 of them's job is to make one look good. And then the whole other thing is everybody on the sideline, they have a role during the week. I mean, everybody's got a role on this team, and they all make each other better. So in a spirit of teaching people how to be team players, how to stand for something bigger than themselves, how to give back more than they get. I mean, we're talking huge platform to learn that.
Yeah.
And then not only to learn it, but to define themselves by that, and then say, like myself, if I didn't have football, I would have been in a lot of trouble. And I was in a lot of trouble anyway, but football kept me with a reason that said I have to get up at 6 a.m. because coach, I got to be there on time. And these are my brothers, and I can't let them down, and I got to do my job, and I got to do the best job I possibly can. So when you're part of something like that, I think that's where we start working up our ladder of excellence. And that ladder of excellence is 10 steps, where somewhere in the middle there between steps 4 and 6, you actually start winning, and you win more often than you lose. But we're measuring them at so many levels higher than that I think that's why it is such an amazing game. You can't look at the physicality, or you can't say, I mean, if you teach false masculinity, it doesn't matter what you do. I mean, there's a lot of sports where it's a lot about false masculinity, but if you're teaching them how to be part of something bigger than themselves and being part of a team, it helps them in life. It helps them in their jobs. It helps them in their career paths. So, that's what we really try to do.
Yeah, and you've been coaching long enough to see this come full circle. You've seen these young men go through your program, go later on into careers, and I'm assuming you've stayed in touch with them and seen them become successful.
Yes, I'm blessed in the fact that over the last few years, I've now had some players play for me that they're sons of my past players. And so I've got to see the full circle. My oldest son is on staff with me. He's a defensive coordinator, and I call the plays on the offense. And it's so fun because he's probably forgotten more football than most people know. But, he has to, we compete. I mean, we compete a lot, and he's the one guy that tells everybody in the world, like, my dad doesn't know anything, really.
The older I get, the smarter my dad gets.
Yeah. But, I just believe that, we have such an amazing opportunity for me, it was a way of giving back. It was a way for me to thank those that played the game before me. And we talk about that. We want to honor that with our attitude. Every day that we get together and we play the game of football, it's a way that we can thank those that played before us or those that took the time to mentor us.
Yeah.
And it's the way that we go about that is how we're thankful. If we don't give everything that we've got, then we're kind of not only letting ourselves down, but we're letting down the honor of the game.
Yeah,
And it's a special game because there's a lot of people that feel the exact same way.
A football team is a big team. There's a lot of team sports out there. Football is one of those that you see. Look at the sideline. It's not just you see the players, the coaches, the assistant coaches, the water people. You see, it's the most popular sport. I mean, I remember in my high school, it was the biggest sport. I mean, I wanted to be a star football player. Now, God didn't bless me with the size. I loved football more than I loved baseball. I went on to play college baseball. But I loved football. I wanted to be a great football player. I was drawn to that. I was aggressive. I wasn't big enough, so I ended up, choosing baseball, which, and you've talked about this too with genetic testing and some mechanical assessments, which I want to get into a little bit if you guys don't mind, about figuring out, is this sport right for your child? This is your realm trip. How do we figure that out? Is it, hey, they're passionate about it, we'll find a position for them? Tell us, our listeners, a little bit about how that works from your process.
Well, one of the things first is we have to understand what the kids and the parents want, right? Do they want to play football to begin with? Is this the right sport? So understanding their goals first and understanding, how dedicated they are to this is number one is, and as well as understanding what's driving them too. Is it a bad home life? Are they doing bad at school, or are they messing up? And then you can start getting into maybe what position is best for them. Someone who's 5'3", 130 pounds might not be the best guard, right? But they might grow into it in high school, right? They might grow into it. So understanding hey, get your genetic test done, figure out how, what your lean mass potential is, your endurance, your power, find out that, and then placing yourself in the right position for you. You know what I mean? Again, someone who's 6'1", 170 pounds should not be a fullback. And if they do want to be a fullback, they're going to have a hard time in that position if they're fighting for it, right? But, if you move them over to wide receiver, slot receiver, kick returner, special teams, they're going to see a much higher success rate with them playing, and they're going to want to stay in the game more. Yeah. So for me, it's about understanding maybe what position works best for us, and then ultimately what sports works best for us. Sometimes football might not be the best for you. I was a swimmer because I wasn't allowed to play football, but I know I would have succeeded because I made it to the pros when I was as an adult. So it was kind of the opposite looking glass.
Why do you like football? What drew you to football? Just aggressive, I got to get this out. What was it?
It was the fact that you are no good if the other 10 people around you aren't playing the same game. It's everyone needs to know where they are. It's with baseball and stuff like that. And I'm not trying to you can say whatever you want. Not trying to bird poop on anything, but everyone's kind of doing their own thing. And with football, everyone has to be on the same page. The coaches, the trainers, the players, sometimes even the fans, right? Everyone's got to be on the same page. Maybe this is a rebuilding year or what have you. So for me, it was just a fact of pure teamship. Yeah, there is no other sport that's like that.
Well, I mean, and that's life too, right? Whether it's church or in your community, your business, which you're also have a super cool business venture, Vistage Chair, which it came as part of this after you had learned so much, and now you're coaching CEOs. I think your company has across nationwide 40,000.
Yeah, 45,000
CEOs
in 31 countries. So it's a huge entity actually, and again, I feel just totally blessed to be part of the community. A lot of great people in this world that are doing things. CEOs for small to mid-sized businesses are accountable for about 95% of all the business transactions that happen in America. Wow. And if those CEOs aren't doing well, they're not just taking care of themselves, they're taking care of their whole companies and their families. And so what you find is there's a lot of burnout. There's a lot of challenges there, and they're very unique to that position. And so at Vistage, we help them by putting them together with other like non-competing CEOs so they can work on that role.
Yeah.
Because it's truly a unique role.
So I got a two-part question here. So first is what similarities do you see between you coaching football and then ultimately coaching CEOs?
Well, like I said, I think football is the perfect training ground to be a part of a company. I mean, just to be part of the workforce and realizing what it takes to get to the top or what have you. And the top could be measured multiple ways, especially in the game of football. It's like, did you earn a spot? You know,
Right.
And then if you earned a spot, how did the team do together? Like you said, there's so much that goes on in football because it's timing, it's spacing, it's knowledge of the plays, it's knowledge of your why. Why are you doing this? Why would you put your body through this? I mean, there's a lot of things that are going on there. So I think, you know, that usually the most successful CEOs either had an amazing idea and they were able to figure out a way to start that and get it rolling, and then all of a sudden the business explodes and they're not sure how to play their role. Or, on the other hand, they work their way up from the very bottom and work their way all the way to the top of that position in that company, and they're very good at working in it instead of on it. And then
Right.
and that's why we work with them on how to pull themselves back and look at business from a different perspective as the leader.
Are you using anything from this transformational football into how you coach? Is there some similarities there with your programs?
Yeah, because it's I think I'm very systems and process oriented. So I'm always looking for a way to make things easier, make things more simple. As a role as a chair, it's not my job to come up with the answers. It's the job to get people to lean in and be a part of something bigger. So I think it's absolutely, I don't have to change. It's not like I do one thing for one level and one thing for another. It's exactly the same.
This is a question for both of you guys. What are you guys working on now together? What's the next step? How do you save the game? Like, what's the next step with keeping these athletes, getting participation up, getting kids motivated, getting parents to buy into this? How do we do that together? What are the steps?
I'll let you take it first.
Okay. Yeah. So I think that the message has got to move forward that football is not the monster. It's not the enemy. It is a place where kids can grow up. One thing about football, you don't have to have the greatest skill set, or you don't have to fit the profile of saying I'm 6'8", I weigh 280, I can shoot a jump shot, I have great hand and eye coordination. Football is truly a sport where we can find a position for everybody, no matter what their size or their body makeup. Okay, so that's one of the things that I think is really important. Now, as a kid starts playing the game, they'll know very early on if they like the contact or not, and if they don't, they'll migrate towards something else, which is fine. But I think in the process of trying to keep people safe and looking at it, I think they steer kids away from it too early, meaning they should give them a shot to, everybody should get to go to the plate and take a whack at the ball, don't you think?
Sure,
I mean,
sure.
And you don't know anything about yourself. You don't know if you can hit the curveball unless they throw a curveball and you take a shot at it, right? And in football, I think what's so great about it is the fear of injury. Sometimes we lose our freedom. You got to take a choice. Is it fear or safety or over the ability to fly? And what I mean by that is that when kids go in and they actually find that they can be successful in football and be a part of something bigger than them, you watch them take off. You watch them say, okay, I'm not going to go out and hang out with those guys tonight because I have something more important, and it's positive, and I'm with people that care about me, and I'm learning how to care about them more than I care about myself. Now that is something that we need to. That's what parents, that's what everybody's got to see in the game of football, and it has been around a long time. And if you look at majority of the football players, even that make it as far as pro, how many of them are doing something more for others than just themselves? Mm-hmm. And we can just drop the mic there.
Yeah. Yeah, Walter Payton was my favorite. He was like the exemplary football player. Like when he scored a touchdown, hand the ball to the ref,
No big
like
celebration.
just went back.
That's what I do.
Act like you've been there before. Now I think that, there's a little bit more fancy celebration, which is cool for TV and stuff, but
Yeah.
but the kids watch it and they're like,
Yeah. I actually, so I'm opposite of that. We're kind of more like Walter Payton in our program. That's what we try to do. I don't mind. I don't want them ever to put it in somebody else's face, like taunting by any means. I think taunting's worse than physically hitting somebody. I think many times it leads to something a lot worse. But if they come to their own sidelines and celebrate with their brothers, I'm fine with that. I'm totally cool with that.
Yeah, I learned early on when I played baseball, like always to respect the umpires. I feel like I knew how hard their job was. Parents would yell at them, kids would yell at them, and that was like the gateway to like just bad etiquette. A lot of these games are built on like etiquette, right? Trip, like is that some stuff you learned too?
Well, it's unfortunately, I think a lot of coaches their perspective's a little bit wrong. It's about winning or losing for them, and it's not about personal growth for the kids. I think that's a huge issue that we have going on, and why we have a lot of people leaving the sport, and why, well, not just football, but everywhere, is we're so infatuated with winning that we forget that there's more to the game than that. And at the end of the day, it is a game. That's
a tough conversation too, because I have this when I do my baseball lessons with kids. I want to win. Now there's this balance between it's not fun to lose, right, Coach?
Yeah,
losing's not fun.
But I mean, it isn't. It's more fun to win. Put it that way. It's not. It's not fun not to win, because if you set your goals right, like if the goal is lifelong relationships and no regrets, then you could lose a game and still accomplish that. Okay? So if you're setting your goals right, it's not about just winning that game. If you gave everything you personally had and you're laying on the field exhausted, but you didn't win, you lost 21-22, did you win? I mean,
100%.
Right?
Totally.
So that's what we want to, that's our goal. That's what we shoot for every day at Littleton.
Do you feel like preparation, do you feel like the games are won during the game or in preparation?
Preparation, 100%. 100%. And I think it's year round now. And actually all of the weight and the weight programs and the conditioning and everything we got to do, actually I think it's almost backwards. It's like we do it to play the game instead of you do it so that you live your life the best you could possibly be. And then if you want to add a game to that, you should add a game to that because you're really good at it, or you can excel at it. We tell the kids that work with us is that you can lift and you can have health and wellness as your goal and mindset for the rest of your life. There's a small window of opportunity you get to play football. There's a small window of opportunity you get to play baseball.
Yeah.
I mean, holy smokes, baseball's a game of failure. I mean, you fail all the time, and then when you go 2 for 10, you make $15 million or whatever. So to me, I couldn't play baseball very well because I struck out 8 times instead of focusing on the 2 that I hit it. So, but yeah, when I keep going back to my legacy ladder, or the ladder of excellence, the top level that we get to is, lifelong relationships, no regrets. Those are your top 2 steps. And if that's your goal every day, you don't even set a goal that says we're going to win conference, or we're going to win 10 games, or we're going to win tonight. And I always tell everybody it's the W word. I always say, you're never going to hear me tell you got to win tonight. I hope you play to win in everything that you do. Yeah. I hope you want to be a winner in everything you do. But I don't want you to settle, because a lot of times you can win a game and it hides all kinds of stuff. So.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Definitely. Oh yeah.
So you're really talking about the culture
Good
here
point.
with transformation football,
Very good
because
point.
everyone needs to change. Like, making sure that the coaches are doing what they need to do, the players. Can you give us maybe a little breakdown of this transformational football and what you expect to see from the program now that you're in it?
Yeah. So it really is process driven, and so when we keep going back to a ladder, I keep telling you guys, and I have it here, and I would share it with you if we were on camera or whatever.
We can
so you
post it.
actually see it.
We'll post it.
But it's something that, especially the first 5 steps of our ladder, is something that you have to buy into doing every day. I mean, it's one of those things that once you get that into, it's just like you guys doing. You're trying to teach people how to work out and make this part of who they are. So the first step is just showing up. You would be surprised, especially these young people, what happens to those that just show up every day, because not many do. I mean, so we say, show up, no excuses, always show up. This is about consistency and discipline. And then your next step is you open your heart to learn. And we call it the Irish heart, the old heart. And this is your attitude. This is how you come off. This is how you occur to other people. So when we talk about the 2 things that players have direct control over, and it's the only 2 things they have direct control over, it's their attitude and their effort. And that's the 3rd step. The 3rd step is you got to be willing to work, W2W. Your effort, your wax on, wax off. We were talking about that, I think, on the last call, is, Danielson and if you focus on how long the fence is, man, we'll never get that done. How am I going to sand this fence? But if you focus on the process over and over again, now you have what I call a mastery mindset. And you're now just getting to a level where you can actually start to build your why, because now you've at least understood the work level it takes to get there. Until then, if you set that goal too early, you don't even know what the work it took to get there.
Right.
So how can you even really see clearly, of where you're going and what do you want to do with that? If you stay focused on those type of things, you hear what I'm saying?
Oh,
You don't hear this on television. You don't hear this on NBC. You don't hear this from
Yeah.
some of the greatest athletes.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, God gave them tools, man. Some of those guys, they didn't even need to play high school football, because they were 6'7", 289. They could run a 4.2 40. I mean, they were just. It is what it is.
Genetics.
But at the high school level, less than 1% of them are going to go play on after high school.
Less than 1%.
So we got to use this as a vehicle to teach these guys how to find themselves and how to fight through and how to deal with adversity, and how to get up off the ground when they're hit the bottom, and how to work their ways up, because life's not easy. Life's not easy. 61 years I turned 61 this year, and I promise you it was anything but easy.
That's so cool to hear all the things. You have such a great mindset for why. Right? You've clearly discovered and found your why and your purpose. Obviously making a huge impact in this community. It's funny what you mentioned too, the show up and open heart. That's identical. I say show up and give me good energy. That's all I need. If those are my 2 things. If you show up, you give me good energy, I'll do the rest. If you can't learn something, it's my fault. Yep. And so I take all the onus as a coach. All you have to do is show up and good energy. It's so cool to see these us come from different worlds, but have the same idea.
100%.
It's funny how that works, isn't it?
Yeah. And I think we're all on the same plane, because we're all trying to be servants. We're trying to give back. We're trying to help those around us. I mean, what you give them a foundation when they go through our program and they learn these 10 steps, and half of them don't even get to step 5. I promise you. Most of the ones that don't stick it out don't even get there to step 1, because they don't show up every day.
Yeah.
So I mean, if they don't show up every day, we can't get them to an open heart. We can't get their good energy.
Yeah.
And we can't get them to maximize their effort. Because it all comes, energy is attitude, and effort is just putting in the work, right? And just putting in the work. And then I always know with young men, though, this is what's so great, is the ones that come and go and everything, but the ones that buy in, you watch them start looking at themselves in the mirror, and you got them.
The shoulders are back a little bit.
Yeah, they start looking like this, and before they were like either too skinny or they got so much of an empty tire around their gut that they didn't even know they had anything under there.
Yeah.
And so that's awesome.
Tripp and I we've talked about this a couple times this week. I'll often ask the kids, I'll say, hey, we can go further. Are you still enjoying this? And I always check in with them. I'm like, because if you don't enjoy this, if you're not loving football, let's get you a different sport. Or if you don't love, for me, I don't want to waste my time coaching somebody who doesn't want to be there with me. Because they could be excelling at something else. Mm-hmm. So why would you spend your time? And then we get into like maybe the parent pushed them, maybe, Mm-hmm. But the overriding theme is there's lots of stuff out there. Find something you love and commit to it, really. And football is a very unique, super unique vehicle. There's nothing out there like it.
Right.
It's a fantastic sport.
Yeah, it's all I know, and I can't help everybody, but I can help those that want to come out for football and and utilize this and buy into what we're teaching them. And I've been so blessed because I have a little Facebook page, and we blog every game every week during the season, and then they never hear from us again. But I've been doing that for over 26 years, and I've got players that played for me in year one that still look for that. Like if I don't get it done by Wednesday, I'll get like 50, 60 texts like, what's up? Are you okay? What's going on? And I'm like, no, I'm just running a little behind. I'm a little
Didn't
older.
See the post today.
Yeah. We didn't see it, this week, but and that's why I do it too. I mean, you think about it, when I'm walking down an airport, and I'm walking down, all of a sudden I hear Coach, and I turn and look, and they're like, hey, it's me, John. I'm like, John? John Short. And I'm like, John, oh my God, I don't even recognize you. Next thing you know, they got two little kids running over to you, and they're saying, this is the guy I told you about, and they're hugging your leg like you really mean something. That now you just felt the full circle of what we do it all about. I mean, it's not about the money. It's not about the prestige. It's not about, hopefully this whole community comes and, bows to you or anything. All it matters is those relationships that you're building with those people, and you make a difference in their lives, and hopefully they pass it forward, and that's what I tried to do. I mean, that is truly why I coach. The guy who got me involved with Randy Penn in 1987 was my youth coach, and he was asking, I had a job in aerospace, and he's like, how you doing? I'm like, I'm great. I got a great job. I'm going to get married over this next year. And he's like, no, how you doing? I'm like, I'm miserable. Because I was in a cubicle. I was working in a factory and what have you. And he's like, you coached when you played. I need you to go meet this man. And have you ever thought of coaching, And thank God he did that. But again, that was him thinking outside of the box. Why did he do that for me? I don't know. I still don't know, but I'm forever grateful.
And I love seeing the dads getting into coaching who have no experience, but you can tell they're passionate about it. And everybody starts there, and you can learn quickly. And I remember my dad, he always had his baseball book out. And then when I signed up for wrestling, I saw a wrestling book. I'm like, please, no. Yeah. I'm like, please. And then he's trying to show me. I'm like, don't even dare.
And that's something. That's great.
What a fantastic podcast. And what an important conversation to have. Obviously, it's been a pleasure. You're a community leader. As we have, we're grateful to be in that position now too, being much younger and not have been around the block quite as long, but we're on a similar path.
Yeah, you are.
Let's add in any final thoughts. I know you're at Littleton. I know there's open enrollment. People can come and sign. Can parents reach out to you? You're obviously busy with what you're going on. If somebody wants to contact you, are they able to? What's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, it's so easy. I mean, my telephone number is 720-394-7789. But you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on LinkedIn. Yeah, I'm not hiding anything. Coach V8A at Gmail. It's easy. That's phonetic.
I'd love that.
I'm just trying to get the message out there that this is a positive environment. There are places that you can go. If you're sitting on a bench somewhere and you're miserable, you can always come out to Littleton and probably find a good home out there of people that care and for all the right reasons. But more importantly is just go out. Just go out for sports. Get involved with team type of sports so that you can learn that there's more to it than just yourself. Open your eyes and see what there is out there. And, because, gosh, going through COVID and what have you, these kids, it's the work. Half of it's not just the safety. Half of it is like they don't want to work that hard, And what we're trying to do is like, look,
Totally.
Yeah, let's get back to basics. Let's start working. Let's understand work ethic a little bit, and let's understand the world's not going to be handed to you. You're going to have to go out there and get it. And so maybe in these type of environments, it gives them a little more of that than they may even get in the classroom. I mean, half of the kids that go. So here's one thing. I guess we're ending here.
Take your time. You
but 30% of males that enter college quit their freshman year. 30%. Then of the rest of those, it's like 36% graduate in 4 years. So that means there's 60 some odd percent of those that don't. So what do they do? And then there's another percentage, and I can't remember what it is, but they graduate in 6 years. But all of them that graduate, there's nobody waiting at the door that jobs are just waiting for them anymore, like there was supposed to be. So we've got challenges. It's almost an epidemic of young kids quitting, young males quitting. And we need to get them more active, and we need to get them more back involved in the work ethic that it takes to be successful, and at least be proud of themselves. And once they're proud of themselves, then they play a part in their communities, and they're learning the content of giving back. Now we start to give them the tools that I think they're going to need to fight through.
Bethany, you've listened for a long time to the Boys Club. Give us your thoughts, any final thoughts, and just wrap up thoughts from you.
Yeah, I just think it's awesome what you're doing. I think if you can get them to see a return in the investments that they put into that sport, then that's going to translate into the other areas of their life, that's job or family or relationships. Like if you have this physical area to start and they're already motivated to do it, and they see the outcomes and how positive they are, it's going to translate over. So
yeah. Well, thank you about that.
Yeah.
And it's not about wins and losses with what you just said. I mean, you can still get everything that you need to do out of that game if you do it right.
Tripp, anything to close it out?
I love football.
I knew he was going to say that. Thank you so much for joining us on this High Water episode. Lance, thanks again. Fantastic stuff as always. Let's not be strangers.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good day, guys. See ya. Bye.